Welcome to the first episode of JBR Downloaded, brought to you by the Jonesboro Advertising and Promotion Commission. I'm Craig Rickard, Executive Director of the Jonesboro A&P, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff during this podcast. I want a big shout out to Ep.1 Technologies for producing this for us. Like I said, I'm Craig, and we're here to talk about events and arenas in this episode. But first, for the most up-to-date happenings in Jonesboro, make sure you go to our website, tourjonesboro.com/events. This weekend, in fact, a lot of stuff going on. It's graduation at A-State, so congratulations to all those Red Wolves who are becoming alum this week. You can also submit your own events. Want to make sure you do that. Right at the bottom of that events page, you can see a button to start your own event to get that on our calendar as well. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Graduation. There's an A-State baseball series against Troy, a big one for them. And, of course, the Delta Symphony Orchestra also performing this weekend at the Fowler Center. And that's just what's coming up this weekend. So coming up later this month in May, a brand new event coming to the city of Jonesboro. We are very excited about this. The Skirmish, a Delta Gravel Festival, a brand new event coming to Jonesboro, and this is going to be huge for our community. Joining us now is Bruce Dunn, Executive Director of All Sports Productions out of Northwest Arkansas. Bruce, welcome to the very first JBR Downloaded. You need to update your resume after this.
Oh, I love it. I'm very excited, and not only to be a first time here, but also a brand new event coming to Jonesboro, Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, which is our first foray in the state to that neck of the woods, as we like to say in Arkansas. And coming up with a new event is always probably one of the more exciting things I've done over my almost 30-year career of event production. And the Skirmish was certainly a lot of fun. Getting it going, developing the name, developing the routes, and now, this planning process we've been doing for the last several months.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with you guys on this. We're excited to bring it to town. Now, give me your background in event production like this. I've been telling people as I describe this event coming to town, this is not, just grandma's bike race where here's your T-shirt. This is like legit big time stuff we're doing here.
Well, I don't know how much time we have here, but a long story short is I was president of a local cycling team in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and it fell to the local president to promote a race that had started in 1978 by Joe Martin. Eventually became the oldest stage race in the country, road cycling, and I'd been promoting that as the president of the cycling team. A good friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I think someone can make a living in event production." And I left the very best job I had ever had at that time at the university doing major gift development and the fall of 2002 and formed All Sports Productions in the spring of 2003. And so we've been doing this. Wow, Craig, this will be our 23rd year of doing event production.
That's incredible. And, in the state of Arkansas, of course, we have a great reputation for outdoor recreation, outdoor sports, cycling in particular. When you talk about cycling, focus always seems to go to Northwest Arkansas. What are the reasons to get some of that over in this part of the state? What do we have that other parts of the state might not have?
The great thing about Arkansas is the natural state, and I'm from Southern Arkansas, but I've gone all over, and each of the regions have this unique topography, and of course, the one common thread is Arkansans are very, very nice people, and I think people love that about it. That's just one of those X factors. But specifically to Northeast Arkansas, you have Crowley's Ridge, which is really something that I don't think people really have a concept of until they get there, right? And then, of course, farmland in the Delta region. And so you have a bit of diversity in that super flat combined with Crowley's Ridge actually makes it one of the most unique of all cycling off-road that you could have in the state of Arkansas. So that's going to be a major plus as we, continue with this event for many years.
You talk about the topography and the geography of this part of the state. Personally, I had not even considered that. You and I have been talking about bringing a cycling event to Jonesboro for over a year now. And it wasn't until you guys talked about, hey, gravel. Now, we're kind of used to Crowley's Ridge around here, but you mentioned just in this event, you're going to have the hills and the flat. I mean, how does that different than maybe other events that you do or you've seen around the country in the world of gravel cycling?
Well, first of all, what we do, it's all hills. I mean, there is not a flat section, even in the flat sections or valleys of the other gravel events we do. Now, I'm being a little extreme, but for the most part, it's up and down, right? As you go across the country, you kind of get either the rolling hills, maybe you'll get some West Texas flat terrain, possibly. Maybe as you go further down toward the Mississippi Delta area, you might, but I have never seen more flat roads in an extended period of time as we have, in Jonesboro area. But then you have the Crowley's Ridge. You really believe, unless you're looking out and have a view of the farmland, you don't know that you're in Northeast Arkansas. You think you're in, the Ouachita's or the Boston Mountains or somewhere else. So that's what I love. It really is the tale of two topography.
And is that attractive in this world of gravel cycling? I mean, I can barely get around the block in my neighborhood. I mean, if you're one of these folks that likes this, is that the diversity you're looking for that makes this an event that we can really grow?
I believe it is. I absolutely believe it's going to be one of those, factors that there's no way you can work with, to try to make the Ozark Mountains more flat, right? And you can't make the Delta region, any hillier. So I believe it's going to play to two different types of groups of cyclists. And the uniqueness of that is going to, I believe, yes, in short, it's going to be something that people will go, you know what, that was a lot of fun. Little challenge at the first, and then on the way home, depending on the wind, they could have the fastest ride of their distance they have ever done in a gravel event.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about, before we get into technical stuff about the routes and things like that, let's just talk about this being a festival. That word is on purpose. This is not just for people that are cycling enthusiasts, people that want to try this out, people that want to take on the Crowley's Ridge and then the Delta. We're trying to throw a party for this whole city, this whole part of the state.
Yeah, and that's really what we try to do at this stage of our career. Obviously, we have some super competitive events, but for the most part, we want to incorporate not only the casual cyclists and the serious cyclists, but what about the families? What about the community? And so, as you and I've talked about, this is an event that happens to have a cycling gravel component to it, right? But we want to bring the community in. So all these cyclists coming in can see what Jonesboro is about. But we want the people from Jonesboro, even if they have no, inkling of getting involved in cycling, that there's live music, or there's a kids zone, or maybe they do have a bicycle and they can do the family free, free family roll. And so I'm sure we're going to talk about those specifics, but that's our idea. Live music, great atmosphere, that brings anyone out. And so that's the X factor for this as well. Craig, I think having the live music and have more things to offer, that's going to involve the community. And then cyclists that maybe came by themselves without their friends and family, they're going to come back for some of these offerings and bring more people with them.
Well, let's talk about the event specifics right here. When we get it out there, we say it's going to be May 29th through June 1st, but it's not 4 days of just pure cycling. There's a lot of cool things happening. Can you put a little finer spin on that for me?
Yeah, well, May 29th, I mean, that's a Thursday. So a lot of events are just one-day events. We intentionally, Craig, talked about, if we're going to do this, let's try to make it like the big, the granddaddies of the cycling, gravel cycling world. And that's become a 3 or 4 day festival. So Thursday afternoon is all about the local community. You're already doing a slow roll in Jonesboro there, casual ride, and people that want to come in early, hey, they're going to get to interact with the local community right off the bat. And there's going to be no competitiveness there. Everybody's going to be really relaxed. So that's Thursday early afternoon or early evening, late afternoon. Friday, we're going to do a shakeout ride. And so people that are in town or they've traveled, they want to get their legs loosened up. So 10 a.m., we have a shakeout ride. And then we're going to kick off the expo. We're going to have vendor expo and both the cycling industry and local offerings. That starts at noon. 2 p.m., there's going to be another shakeout ride because people may not have been in town. What I love and what's most fun is live music that night, but there's also going to be an athletes meeting. So it's mandatory you attend this athlete meeting. That's at 6 p.m. A lot of fun. Usually long term, Craig, these are going to be a fun way to introduce something new, right, to the event. And so that's Friday. Saturday is the day, the competitive day. We have a 24-mile ride. We have a 40, a 60, and a 100-mile. So we have 4 different competitive routes. We also have a slow roll, 6 miles. It's going to be on the paved trail system, goes out to Arkansas State. They're going to have some fun out there. We crank up the expo again, and we have that all day. And so 2 days of expo and for the community athletes. And then Sunday, I'm pretty excited about it. We did this with another event. We're going to have an awards and video and photography ceremony. And we're going to do a photo collage, a video recap. We'll do awards for people in the competitive event on Saturday. And we'll give away a lot of prizes. And we're doing that there at Arkansas State University at the basketball complex. And that's going to be a great way to cap off 4 days.
It's just from beginning to end, this is shaping up to be spectacular. I'm so excited that we're getting this in Jonesboro. You talked about some can be casual, some can be competitive. There's some prize money out there. If we have any serious cyclists listening, there's some money at stake out here.
So generally speaking, that's going to be at the longest distance that you'll put prize money into. And again, I don't want people to think that the 100-mile ride is all competitive. There's going to be people that have never done 100 miles on gravel, and they're going to go out there, and it's going to be the challenge of their career so far, right? All the way to the other spectrum, we've got pros, Craig. I just talked to 2 of them yesterday. They're coming in because a little bit of money in the professional cycling world goes a long way. And so we're going to have some horses coming over, and both males and females competing for prize money in the 100-mile route.
That's really cool. Now, this event is going to be staged around downtown Jonesboro. I want to let people know that. And I would tell our local listeners, this is going to be staged out of that parking lot there on Main Street where we have Barbecue Fest. That's where the main stage will be. That's where the vendors will be. And that's pretty much where the start-finish line will be. So the race is going to start in downtown Jonesboro. And without getting too specific, Bruce, can you kind of describe the different lengths and routes and what direction they're going to go and where they're going to return?
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Craig, and the city of Jonesboro and the leadership, the emergency service personnel, the downtown businesses. I really wanted Jonesboro to put this in the heart of the city, because if you have people coming in from multiple states, we want to show Jonesboro. And that is something that's a very big attraction, especially for future years, right? They're going to talk about that and the hospitality. And so Main Street is going to be the start-finish line of these 4 competitive events. And the 3 of them, the 3 longest events, they're going to go south out of Jonesboro. And what I didn't understand is Jonesboro is at the top of Crowley's Ridge. And so basically, even though there's some undulation, they're falling all the way south. And so that's very exciting to see that. And then the routes are going to go due west, and then they're going to come back due north, and then, of course, head east back into the downtown area. We also have that 24-mile out and back route. So, yes, downtown is going to be the hub. We'll have a few streets blocked, and so business owners will be talking to them. I know, Craig, the community's been really embracing the fact that this big event we want to host, and we want to host it downtown. and we're going to love everything that's going to be going on around it.
Yeah, we love bringing these kind of events to town, and we're going to grow them every year. We're excited. At this point, as you and I talk today, we're at like 140 people that have signed up for this, and I'm pretty stoked about those numbers, knowing there are longer tenured events in the world of gravel cycling. I found out that don't have that many after being around for a few years. So I think people are curious to come to Jonesboro and see what we have and to take on Crowley's Ridge. And I want to thank you guys for kind of opening our eyes to the possibility that existed there.
Yeah, again, new part of the state. I think it attracts a different, wider audience. Sometimes Northwest Arkansas can be very difficult to get to, and or very crowded calendar. And so I'm excited about some of the new areas that are within a 2 or 3 hour range, all of them out of state, to come over. The new terrain, and I love the fact that we're not one of 100 events going on, in Jonesboro. I hope, after COVID, events grow out of our event that's happening, right? And I think that certainly happens. We see it everywhere. But I think Jonesboro, perfect timing for us. I hope it's going to be for you guys. In fact, I know it's going to be, and we're going to have a great event.
Well, we're trying to build a cycling, community here. There's a lot of rabid cyclists already in Jonesboro. We got groups that head out all the time and ride the ridge. They ride the roads. But we have this is one of three events we'll have. 2 this year, 3 next year. But we have NICA coming in this year, and next year the Graveler will be coming back through Jonesboro. So we're excited about that. So we're kind of setting the stage to make people take notice that, hey, there's more than one cycling game in this state, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Oh, and here's the deal, Craig. The entire state has amazing mountain bike trails, amazing gravel roads. We have, some of the best road cycling in the United States. I mean, we really are a two-wheel hub for the central part of the U.S. And Jonesboro is obviously part of the conversation already. We love the NICA League. We love the fact that the Graveler's coming. We love the fact that the competitive cyclist for the size of Jonesboro is as good as any in the state. It really is. I was very impressed. Again, when we came over for your ribbon cutting for Craighead Park, I was blown away, as I told you then. And to see the excitement of your community, to see the kickoff for the Skirmish, for the press conference. I've never had a press conference in all the years with that many people attended that were that interested and wanted to be a part of it. You've got something special, Craig. I know you know that, and we're so excited to be a part of it.
We're glad to be partners with you on this. Like I said, we hope more events come from it. And real quick, before we go, we got to plug the website. What is it?
It's it's the skirmishjonesboro.com, right? I mean, so
skirmishjonesboro.com, built by Ep.1 Technologies. Yes, skirmishjonesboro.com. You can register there. Are we in the final registration phase? I know we've been kind of incrementally saying the prices go up. Are we in that final registration price point?
We are. You're putting the event director on notice here. Yes. Yes, we are the final stage of the registration process. We'll register you all the way up till 7 p.m. the night before. And and again, we've got to plug this slow roll. I think that's
great.
Well, for the community, right? Mm-hmm. We want to get the community involved and see that it's not all about, this tight Lycra kit and, a very expensive bicycle. On the other hand, we hope that some of those people that are here competitively will bring their family next year for the slow roll. And so these two groups, working together, we're going to have some fun with that one too.
Very cool. And that slow roll is free. It is about 6 miles starting in downtown Jonesboro, going to the A-State campus. I was just talking to some folks from A-State. We have some fun things planned when they get on campus. So just so many things, families, new cyclists, old cyclists, intense cyclists, and families. We got music, we got vendors, we got food, you name it. It's coming to Jonesboro May 29th through June 1st. It is the Skirmish, a Delta Gravel Festival. You can check out more at skirmishjonesboro.com. Bruce Dunn from All Sports Productions, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us, and we're excited about the end of the month.
Okay, it's time to talk concerts and First National Bank Arena. Rod Saavedra, the director of First National Bank Arena, joining us now. Rod, man, thanks for coming to see us today. You've been in town for about a year now. What has it been like making the transition to running an arena like First National Bank Arena?
It's been fun. It's been interesting. So I've been in the industry 22 years now. Private management, city-owned buildings. That's my first university. The athletic side is definitely the part that I've had to learn a little bit more on the fly. It's a great community. The university definitely has a lot of support and a lot of support from administration there too.
That's great. Now, you mentioned you've been at this for over 20 years, been in this business, entertainment field, arenas and things like that. Where did you come from specifically? Where were the places before you got here?
So there's a funny story of how I got into this industry. So I did civil mechanical engineering.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, and I was young, just got married, had a young child. So what we did was build particle board plants, paper mills. So every 4 or 5 years, you had to move to another state. We didn't want to do that. So I did some medical billing for TRICARE, and I got a phone call one day saying, "Hey, we got your application to be an usher." Never applied to be an usher. My wife at the time apparently thought I needed a second job. So that's actually how I got into this
That's funny.
industry. I did 12 years in Florence, South Carolina. We had an arena, about 10,000 seats, ballroom, meeting rooms. And then I did 6 years in North Charleston. So we had a coliseum there. It's 13,000 seats, 2,300 seat theater, and a 75,000 square foot expo hall. I was the director of events down there. We were averaging 450 to 500 events a year between all three buildings. And then I spent a couple years in Salem, Virginia, which is a beautiful place in the mountains. I was the associate director there, and I've been here for a year.
Oh, great. Well, we're glad to have you. I got to take part in the interview process with you and get to know you a little bit before that, and that was enjoyable. We talk about anytime you get a new job, there's new challenges. You look forward to being challenged in that regard. What were some of the things that you saw as opportunities for improvement at First National Bank Arena?
So some of the things we've done is just some of our best practices, SOPs. There's a lot of great people there at the university and at the building, but not a lot that have been to other facilities and seeing what other facilities do. So we've tried to modernize some of our processes. We've taken cleanliness to another level. So we do a lot of organization. We've upgraded our security. So we have some new magnetometers coming through this year so we can kind of modernize, make things more efficient. Some of our billing and just the way we interact with different promoters and agents.
Yeah, a little bit challenging in that regard. Then you mentioned being on campus. It's the first time you've got to work in a university system. What opportunities does that provide? Or maybe it's more challenges. Which is it?
The biggest thing is making sure we have the dates for all the athletic teams. So we're really balancing 4 teams, even though we have 3 in the facility, plus we have football we have to kind of take into consideration. So it's trying to find the dates to do the shows and also make sure that the teams have everything they need to be successful.
It's really cool. People know about basketball, people know about volleyball and the big expos, but people want the concerts. We got a great venue for concerts. I mean, I had it in my scripts here, but why don't you just give us a little plug? There's some pretty cool stuff coming this fall.
Yeah, our fall's starting to shape up pretty well. We have Mercy Me and Toby Mac coming. That'll be a pretty big Christian show for us. We expect to do really well. And then we follow that up. We have Whiskey Myers and then John Party. So that's kind of right there. We have another one that we're close to announcing. Yeah. We're just waiting on that national announce date.
Very cool. And I've got an insight at what he's talking about. And this is going to be a fantastic event when we get this one locked down. So follow First National Bank Arena on Facebook. Be ready for that announcement. Follow Tour Jonesboro, because as soon as he posts it, we'll post it. And because it's going to be a really cool concert. I'm excited that we're getting opportunities like this. And when we talk about concerts, it's a business. There are people, you'll see the people on social media, they'll complain. Why can't we get this person? Why can't we get that person? In the year we've known each other and the few times we've talked, my eyes have been open to just how complicated it is sometimes to get some of these bigger acts. 30,000 foot view. It's not just, we have this arena, come play.
Yeah, and we talked a little before. It's money doesn't even really come into play because everyone's offering the money. A lot of it has to do with seats. So we're surrounded by several bigger buildings. I believe Little Rock's around 16,000 seats. Then you have Memphis, you have South Haven. So we have a lot of competition. And then I think we truthfully are around 7,000 seats at a 180, which means from the front of the stage. So that comes into play. And then it's analytics and routing. How easy you can get to a city comes into play as much as the city itself.
Yeah, I bet that does. Everything is a factor. We get a lot of those Thursday night concerts. Is that where we kind of, look first to say, hey, you've got a gap in your tour schedule. Why don't you throw us in the middle of that?
Yeah, and some of that comes into play with athletics. So we schedule around their dates. And my season, what I would call from a concert standpoint, is the exact same as basketball and volleyball. Another big question we always get is why don't we do more shows in the summer? The majority of artists go outside. They want to go to the amphitheaters. So there's not a lot of opportunity during the summer.
I hadn't considered that. See, these little things we learned here at JBR downloaded. But so you say the money doesn't always come into play because people can, we can always find the money, I guess. What are some of the critical factors? Is it availability when we might, I don't want to say miss, but when we can't necessarily land that one more concert? What is the factor?
Yeah, some of it's availability and some of it's location and seats. Little Rock's a large market. Yes, Simmons Bank Arena. Michael Marion's a fantastic person to work with. He runs the building down there. He's been in the market a long time. They have more seats than we do, so it's finding the artists that are on the way up and on the way down. It's hard to catch them while they're at their peak because they're hitting these bigger markets. We've also seen a trend where artists are skipping this size market. So it used to be they'd play clubs, theaters, then they'd hit that 4,000 or 5,000 mark range, and then they would go to the bigger arenas. And now they're kind of skipping this. They're going from the theater straight to 15, 16,000 seats.
We're kind of in the middle, and sometimes that's a miss.
Yeah,
these folks.
Yeah, we're a tertiary market, so it's making sure everything works and the numbers line up. The asking price for these shows are going higher, so we sit down. We have a spreadsheet that I work that breaks everything down all the way down to the economic impact of what the city impact will be, and we have to take those risks.
I mean, what's the low and the high? I mean, if there's an act coming and their base price is this much, or do you strike them automatically or do you negotiate? How does that work?
No. So there's no real set prices for any of the artists. You kind of have a general idea, so you're making offers. And then we're working with typically a promoter. So we just sit down, we have the conversation, we look at the numbers, we look at what they're doing, where they're going, what kind of numbers they're pulling in, and then we'll say, okay, here's our spreadsheet, here's what everything costs, here's what the ancillaries will be, right. And then we say, all right, here's our break even with just tickets, here's our break even with the ancillaries, can we make this work? And some of these shows, you need more seats to sell than we have, so we can't go after those.
Do you ever have to say to an artist or a tour you're saying no to them?
Yeah, there's been a couple of tours and shows that we've turned down just because it didn't work. Yeah. The numbers they're wanting don't make sense.
Because they want more? Or just
everything's just more expensive. And there was a big boom after COVID. And then right now we're seeing the opposite. So we're seeing a lot of the artists looking for incentives to even go on tours. Talking to a lot of people in the industry, overall facilities are slowing down, especially in the smaller markets. Okay. So we're all fighting for the same slice of that pie.
Right. So when you say things are slowing down in the business, and you're saying that we've got Whiskey Myers, we got Toby Mac, we got John Party coming this fall, and the fourth one that you're going to announce, here, someday soon. Are we like ahead of the curve? I mean, are we killing it with those kind of acts coming in?
I feel pretty good about where we are with our market and everything. I mean, ideally, I'd love to have some more, which I'm constantly working on. We have a few others that we're working on, and it's tough to say, but in reality, we get about 50 no's to every yes.
Really?
So this is an industry where you need to be
thick-skinned,
accepting defeat and rejection. Otherwise, it could get bad real fast.
Well, when you're saying you're getting 50, it's a 50 to 1 ratio. You're saying, I mean, are you just like Are you making contact with all these tours? I mean, do you have some that you're like really saying this will be a stretch if we get it, or maybe we're sinking or not? Our standards aren't quite enough. Where do you find who to ask for that 50-1?
So it's a combination of a lot of different things. It's what's out on tour, and then we have a pretty good group of promoters that we're working with. We don't do a lot of direct offers. I'll take full risk. We have the ability to, but it's harder and harder to buy a show.
Right.
Most shows are looking to be multiple dates. So if a promoter's offering 10 dates and we try to buy one, they're going to go with the 10. So it's working with a lot of different groups kind of all over the country that promote different shows.
Interesting. And the economics of this, it's very, you talk about your spreadsheet. I imagine it's just a colossal spreadsheet. But I'm just curious, like when I go to a concert, I have to pay for the ticket. There's the service fee on the ticket. I got to pay to park. I got concessions. I mean, does the artist or the promoter or the tourer, do they get a little piece of all that? Like if I go, get a hot dog, at the concession stand, are they getting 5% of that or 10% of that?
So it just depends on the deal. From a food point, no, they don't receive any of that. That's split between the concessionaire and the university. Alcohol, tickets, rebates, fees, parking, most of that will get thrown into the pot.
Okay.
So the majority of our shows are going to be what we call co-pro. So it's typically a 50-50.
Okay.
We're going to split the revenue and we're going to split the loss.
Okay.
We do some shows where we co-pro to zero. So if it's a higher risk show, we might say, hey, we're willing to give you every dollar back to zero, but we're not going to take a loss. And then there's some that are rentals. I prefer rentals. They're great, but that's not really something that happens in the industry as far as the concert side. It's more of the rodeos, monster trucks.
Okay.
Those are the shows where we do more as a rental, and we're just setting a base price and we're keeping all those ancillaries.
So you're charging rent for the arena, is what you're saying in rental.
Yeah, we're going to charge rent for the arena. We're going to charge for the staffing. So we look at all of that and we come up with what number works, where we're making a decent profit, and then we're also able to keep all of the parking. We're able to keep the facility fees. Other streams of revenue all stay in the facility.
I think when we go to a concert or any event at First National Bank Arena, we sit there, we look around, we say, I know I paid $25 for my ticket, and I look all around the place and I'm kind of starting to do the math in my head. But I mean, how much profit is involved? I mean, you don't have to give specific numbers, maybe you don't have those on top of your head, but how much profit, when I see a sold out show, like I guarantee that like that Toby Mac show is going to be sold out. He's been here before. He puts on a fantastic show. You don't have to be into Christian music to like his concert, because they are a good thumping concert. Yeah. He sells out 7,500 tickets. I mean, I don't know what the price point is, but how much does the arena stand the profit from that?
So from a ticket standpoint, the majority of it goes back to the artist. We get some of it at a point. So most deals with artists are a guarantee purchase, which means once they hit their number, now they're going to take a percentage of everything else too. So it's not hey, it's $250,000. We're going to stop there. No, it's $250,000, and if we hit that, now we're going to start taking part of the profit also. So the ancillaries are big for us: the parking, the food, the alcohol, the facility fees. Those are big streams for us.
That's where the arena gets its money for the most part. Kind of like when you go to the movie theater, the popcorn is where the movie theater gets their money. All right, let's have some fun. We talked about this before we started. You've been in this business a long time. You always hear these crazy stories about artists and their, what they call them, the writers, the things they need in their dressing room and all that stuff. You got to give me something. You smile when I say it, but there's got to be some funny stories. And if you want to drop names, drop them. But what do you got? What are some best ones?
So the only names I'll drop are the good story. We won't say any of the negative names. A couple of the best people in the industry to work with, in my opinion. Jeff Dunham's one of the greatest.
The comedian.
With the puppets. One of the most down-to-earth people you've ever met. He found out our backgate guy, his nickname was Peanut. So he walked out there, took all kinds of peanut gear, gave it all to one. Really good person. Vince Gill's another great one to work with.
Heard that, yeah.
So we had him right after he came off tour with the Eagles, and he rides the bus with the crew. Like he's just
sounds like
down there. Yeah, great person to work with. Ed Sheeran's another interesting story. I was working with their security guy, and he's like, "I hate working for him." I'm like, "Well, why?" He's like, "He doesn't realize how famous he is. He'll just want to walk outside and think he's normal." And I was like, "He can't.
Can't do that.
Yeah, he's a great person." It's like sometimes they're trying to rein them in.
That's funny. What about like the crazy stuff? Like you hear those crazy stories that the artist needs their bottled water at this temperature, and they need just yellow M&Ms or something like that.
Yeah, that's not overly common, but
Yeah.
we've had some of those, let's say, stories without calling people out.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of those, it has to be white furniture.
Really?
They don't want any kind of other furniture. That we've got a lot of the Gatorade is a big one. They like specific colors. We've had writers where they've asked for very random autographed pictures, and
Really?
yeah, those are typically more to see if you're reading.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they'll throw some things in there just to see
If you're doing it.
yeah, are you really reading this? Are you halfway? So those are kind of the fun ones.
Well, then you think, you mentioned that groups on the way up and groups on the way down. We talk about the groups on the way down. I think of the guys like my generation, some of the rockers from the 80s and 90s that now have their kids with them in tow. Are you ever maybe surprised that like these guys are up there on stage, hooping and hollering, screaming, rocking, and then they've, got a pack and play in the green room or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some of in my opinion, legends. Willie Nelson was one of my favorite artists to do. I've done him, I believe, 3 times. I've done Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton. Some of these people, it's just a way of life. So they don't want to stop. They're still fantastic on tour. We just did REO last year. I think we were 5,000, so we were pretty packed arena. They did a fantastic show. Just because we call them on the way down doesn't necessarily mean they're on the way down. They're still doing fantastic shows.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. Rod, thank you very much for joining us. We're Rod Sabedra from First National Bank Arena. Keep bringing in those concerts, and we look forward to more announcements.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, we are back here on the JBR Downloaded podcast talking about all things Jonesboro, the happenings and events in Jonesboro. And one of the biggest things that has happened in this community in recent years is the groundbreaking for the new Ridge Athletic Center here in Jonesboro. Just a stone's throw, actually, from where I sit right here at Ace Technologies in Jonesboro. This is going to be an incredible thing, a game changer for the city of Jonesboro. 200,000 square feet, 12 courts. I mean, it's just incredible. And then you throw in a 60,000 square foot auditorium, and we've got a one-of-a-kind facility. Hey, we've hired a fantastic company to run it for us, sports facilities companies out of Clearwater, Florida, and they're joining us now. We got Greg Weiscarver and John Sparks from SFC. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, let's just start getting to know you guys since we're going to be working together. And Greg and I have been working together for over a year on this project. But Greg, tell me about your background real quick and how you got to in this business and how you came to work with us here in Jonesboro.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again for having us, man. Jonesboro is going to be a great partnership, and certainly have enjoyed our friendship over the last year plus. I was a vice president of the largest children's sports ministry in the world, Upward Sports. And was there for about 16 years, and we decided to build a sports complex and began the search ourselves for, hey, somebody's got to know what they're doing here, right? We can't be figuring this out on our own. That's not a good plan, right? Hope is not a strategy. So let's figure out somebody that knows what they're doing. And so, searched far and wide, and that's really how I got connected to sports facilities companies. And the CEO there, Jason Clement, and I became good friends, and just as we started building that, they helped put processes in place and kind of hone us in. And so as life has it, things come about and it's time to transition and do new things. And, I had a great relationship with SFC. And so about 7 years ago, I left Upward and came on board with SFC just because I really loved how they stood, how they stood behind clients, what they believed in, the integrity of following through with what they say, doing what they say. And so it's just a good fit for me. But that's how I kind of stumbled my way through life into an amazing group of people I get to work with.
Great. Greg, thank you very much. John, same question. Tell me about your background and how it relates to making the Ridge Athletic Center here in Jonesboro something special.
So I'm the old man in the company, and I served as a 20-year naval master chief and retired and got into the sports facility management industry at the pro level. Was part of the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, now State Farm Arena. Was with the San Antonio Spurs for 10 plus seasons. Constructed their facility and was their vice president general manager of operations, and then went to Brooklyn and did Brooklyn Nets facility as well. Renovated the Citrus Bowl, and Jason came to me after that and said, "Hey, we need somebody at sports facilities," and I was looking to create legacy in communities and make impact. You don't necessarily get that opportunity at the pro level. It's already tested for you, and it's a grind. And so I cut down with SFC, and it's been a ride where we can look. And Greg and I have shared a lot of projects together where we just it comes out of the ground and we see the impact that it makes on communities and the life-changing aspects that it creates. And that's why we're here. It's kind of a passion.
Guys, thank you very much. And once again, I'm happy with this partnership and working together. Now, as we move forward, we're probably, 18 to 21 months away from getting this project open to the public and to be in business over here, not too far from where we sit. And just what do the next 2 years look like? I'm not sure which one of you is best to answer this, but why do we have to start so early?
That's John.
Well, it's an evolution for sure. The first, I guess, 9 to 12 months is setting the foundation. As with anything, the foundation is the most key aspect to it. And I think from a branding perspective, a marketing perspective, an awareness, social media, all the hype to get it to a point of opening up and having people aware of it is part A. And then part B is we have a methodical timeline that most people fall asleep reading, but I'm a geek. So it takes you from cradle to grave, so to speak, as it relates to opening a building, right? And when do you do your legalities? When do you do your hiring? When do you do your SOPs? And everything has a process to it, so that, if any one of us got hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody could step right into what is already developed personally for Jonesboro, right? And if we go away in 10 years or 15 years or whatever, somebody else could pick up that document and say, hey, okay, this is how we really run it. And so I think it's facility management 101, but it has to be tailored. As many templates as we have, it has to be tailored to y'all. It has to be tailored to what the community wants, what the expectations are, and then drive that satisfaction day in and day out, and tweak it as we go. So, we've got a pretty good runway, but it's not, it's good. And I think the more you get to plan and the more you get to get into the granular detail early, then it relieves all the animosity, whether it's within the community or whether it's within other people, that we deal with, because you know where you're going. So.
Well, I think there's very little animosity in this community. If you want to judge the social media reaction, it's been overwhelmingly, just ridiculously positive, especially when you talk about travel sports and the opportunity to bring some of the tournaments here to Jonesboro, because we're a hub. We've got the population. We've got the infrastructure. Greg, on day one, when we open, is that when we start looking for tournaments, or do you already have that lined out?
Yeah, well, that ties in well, and I feel like you already know the answer to this. I feel like
but I'm checking you.
I think it ties well into what John was speaking to. There's so much. I was on the operations side for the first 5 years, working alongside with John. That I was at SFC, been on business development the last 2, so I've seen both sides of how this works. And the big thing is, too many times when we're working with communities, they wait later and later and later and try and cram it in. And inevitably, I have the hard conversation where they say, gosh, I wish we had met you guys 6 months ago. Like, I wish we'd met you a year ago, because it does give the ramp up time. The idea is, yes, all these tournaments and events, they book far in advance, right? Some of them can be their one event of the year, or maybe it's 5 or 6 events a year. So they have to reserve their spots and lock things in so they can make their plans, 12, 18, 24 months in advance sometimes, that they're trying to negotiate deals and lock things in. The idea is pre-opening timeline, really what helps is the idea, I'll put the pressure on John here, the idea is that when we cut the ribbon on opening day, you're at like 90% utilization. Like, we know what's happening, and we're not trying to ramp up then, because then it becomes, if you start, cut the ribbon and start, you're spending a whole lot of money on a building that's not getting used the way it should for a couple of years while you ramp up, and that's not going to be the case here.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, day one, we hope, not to overpromise, but we hope to be booked. We have a similar facility in the Midwest that we don't open until July of next year, and the calendar is full until November 30th of that year. Okay, and so we already have signed contracts passed through council. I did a LOI this morning for a flag football event in 2027, 28, and 29 on the West Coast. So, we're locking into those things so that people don't, they want to be there. And so we're going to drive them. So the group that you met with at Sports ETAs I call them the young guns, but those are the guys that are out there. You're already on the radar, by the way, because I had a call about it this morning, is that, we're now booking, basketball and volleyball for next year today. And if we don't do that in the next 2 to 3 months, you miss the season, right? And because there's only so many tournaments, so many places to go, and so yeah, we're on it. We're on it now. So my goal is that when I turn this over closer to the finish line to someone else, that they're already running with a full deck of events.
Well, that's what we want to hear. I know that's what our restaurants and hotels want to hear as well, to be sure. You mentioned Sports ETA, just to bring people up on that. That was a conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma a couple weeks ago where we went around and talked to the people who have the tournaments, have the events, and we sold them on Jonesboro as well as SFC and all the other venues that you guys manage. You guys manage 60 different places across the country. Why add Jonesboro? What made this decision something that you guys, this opportunity, something SFC wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'm giving the luxury, I'll call it, by those that I work for, Jason and Eric Sullivan and others that lead our group. It's not about next. It's not about adding one more. I like to say more is not better. Better is better. And in meeting with Jonesboro, your leadership there, Jerry Morgan and others that lead, the A&P Commission and just everyone we met with, you could tell they had it didn't have all the answers, but they had a passion for getting it right the first time. And, too many times people are looking for shortcuts. People are looking for the magic beans, the end around that you can do, and they just don't exist, right? It's time, it's hard work, it's partnering with the right people. And for Jonesboro, just the location of it in Arkansas, where it is, we feel like Jonesboro is just ready to pop. Let me just say that, it is primely located in the midst of a lot of large markets around it that people are not necessarily drawn to the large market. They want to get away from that and be able to function in town, right? So Jonesboro's big enough that has other amenities for people as they come there, but you're not bogged down in the grind of trying to get around town and the traffic and the pressures of it. So, and just look, by the facility you're building, it was clear you guys were serious about the impact that you want to have, because this is a facility. I don't know of another one like it, quite frankly. And John may have some there. I don't know of anything that's got the aquatics and tournament combination like this one does. It's going to be special.
That's my question for John. You kind of set me up. It's just kind of like when my research in my year and a half, whenever doing this, taking this from day one, looking at just different facilities that have courts, different facilities that have great aquatics, trying to find one that has both. I mean, I've been telling people there's nothing like this in the country. Am I overselling it?
No, I would not. You're not. I mean, especially from a size and versatility, with the number of basketball, number of volleyball, and then you have a full size aquatics that you can bring the top notch. You can bring that economic impact. You can bring travelers in, because you can go to the highest level. When we go out and RFP events that are nationally sanctioned, we look for facilities like this, and we can sell facilities like this. So, this is we got a couple of recreational type facilities, and I might have a couple of courts and a pool, but we don't have anything to this magnitude at all. This is great.
Well, that's good to hear. That's what I've been telling people. There's nothing like this in the research I've done. So you can find a fantastic auditorium. You can find fantastic courts, and some even very near here. But to find something with both, and then something I want to talk about, something this town has wanted for a long time, and you guys have only known this for a little while, but people have really been clamoring for outdoor aquatics, a water park. And as part of this project on this campus, we're going to have this. Now, we know it's not Disney World, but we have a pretty fantastic, outdoor aquatics park. What added benefit does that give not just the community, but maybe that little extra thing that might pull a tournament in? Is that going to make an impact?
Sure. I mean, people are always looking for something to do. In fact, we now have partnered up with some groups. I didn't make Sports ETA because I was at a different convention that are looking to create other things to do along with a tournament, right? Whether that be entertainment, whether that be fun for the family. And so, we'll bring the tournament and then we'll bring an alternative, set of events that the families can do so they don't have to leave. They don't have to go, what do I do in Jonesboro, right? And so I think that's pretty important to us. I think the water park, we have a facility in a very, very small town in Alabama that created created the water park, and it's a destination now. And, they have a large lake there, and they do the Bassmasters tournaments, and they do all this other stuff. People now come to the sports park for that relief valve that, I don't want to hang out at the lake anymore. I don't want to watch the dad fish. I want to go to the water park, right? And so this is going to be, it's a big game changer for sure.
That's what we like to hear, because and we have to say a big thank you to the city of Jonesboro for allocating $3.2 million from ARPA funding to help us do this. And also a huge shout out to Jonesboro CWL, a fantastic utility partner in the scope of this project. We couldn't be happier with all the partnerships we've created. Also, now let's talk about, when we get closer to opening, talk about economic impact. The survey, the feasibility study says 54,000 hotel nights a year because of this facility. Let's talk about the jobs. I mean, how many people are going to be hired to operate this facility? And are they going to be SFC employees? Or are they going to be working for the A&P Commission? I'm 99% sure I know this answer, but I want to hear it from you guys.
They will be SFC employees, and we will, just to give you an example, the Alabama facility with the water park, we bring on every single day 30 lifeguards. Okay, between indoor and outdoor and the programming that they have, that's 30 part-time lifeguards. So, and we certify them, we train them, we make sure their licenses are all intact, and then we do continuing education with them. That's just 30 people that will have a summertime job. Food and beverage, another 30, right? Because, we'll be revolving people through. I would envision that a complex like this on a tournament day going full speed, will over shifts, we'll have 100 people involved.
Wow. That's tremendous. Now, when it comes to management, we've discussed this a little bit, but do you recruit from inside? Do you do a nationwide search if there's any local talent with this kind of experience? I mean, you don't know who it's going to be yet. You're not looking officially, but how often do you hire somebody locally to run your facilities? And how often do you bring somebody that's already been kind of, molded through the company?
We strive to go from inside out. Okay. I think one of the key advantages, going inside out is that we, in key roles, I call the skilled positions. Okay, we need people that have the background and the community, that understand the community, that grew up there. I just put a very young lady in Henderson, Kentucky, because she grew up there. It's her community, and she wanted to make an impact within that community. So she's going to do fine. We're gonna mentor her, we're gonna train her, and so. Going inside out is always the most ideal scenario for us. Not to say that it always works that way, but I think,
Right.
Greg, more times than not, we try. We get it done with somebody from inside out versus national.
And I think it's important to note, scale wise, this is not about us. This is about Jonesboro, but you're partnered with a company that has over almost 3,500 employees nationwide now that we've grown to. And so SFC is a very attractive for somebody that wants to be in the career mode of sports management. It's a very attractive place to work. Many times at that top level, the general manager level that we'll call it, look, that's going to be a nationwide search. The person may be there locally. More times than not, they're not, right? Because we're going to bring the best of the best. This is not a starter facility, right? This is not a facility to catch a team on, right? So we're going to have somebody.
My first arena.
That's right. And then other positions, when we talk about sponsorship, sales, and business development, marketing. And first of all, you've got a great resource there in Arkansas State University. When we talk about marketing and social media, it's almost like the younger you are, the better at it you are, right? So,
Yeah, right.
Pulling in some of those students and internships and all those things, like it's going to provide a lot of local jobs, but you're also going to have the best of both worlds in that nationwide leadership position there, and then someone like John Sparks here, who they report to and is teaching, hey, this is not the first time we've been through this. We know the right ways and we know how to avoid the mistakes.
You kind of touched on it about the marketing and branding and stuff like that. What is interesting about this facility and partnering with you guys is people need to understand you're not just there to check out the basketballs and serve hot dogs. I mean, you all are going to be responsible for helping us, market this facility, sell advertisements on scoreboards, to do the branding for us. You've already come up with a great brand in the Ridge Athletics Center. What are some of the other things that you guys will have your hands on that people might not be aware of as we develop this relationship?
Well, I mean, I think the analytics are very important to hotels, to business owners, and things of that nature. And so we'll track. We're OCD about tracking analytics and data, and so I think that the data will prove out to just about anybody, how things are proceeding and where we need to make rudder changes. But we do that with financials, we do that with marketing, we do that with social media hits. What's your demographic? Who's coming? Who's not coming? And then what their direct spend is and what their indirect spend is in your area, and we can map that. We put a bubble over Jonesboro, and we map out the probable users of the facility, and then how many people come in, how many people go out. So I think the data and the technology is something that a lot of people overlook, but it's and Greg can attest to this too. In the last 5 years, data is king, because it makes a game changer of whether we do basketball certain times or volleyball certain times, or who comes to more events most. Girls events draw more family members than boys events, and so all that analytical data comes back to how we maximize the use of the facility in the community.
That's right. I mean, you asked our model provides a chance where we have a support center in Clearwater, Florida, that has subject matter experts across all aspects of facility management, right? So when we take on the management, it's allowing, like, the Jonesboro A&P, the city, really to do what they love and promote that, and not have the headache of what it takes to run a day-to-day operation. So it's not just taking out the trash, but it is taking out the trash, right?
Right.
It's events booking and building events from scratch. It's programming, it's finance and cash handling procedures and security and maintenance and upkeep and programming and HR, and it's all happening. And the great thing is, with SFC, we don't have our own goals and metrics we're trying to hit. Our one measure of success is this facility, is the Ridge Athletic Center being operated the way Jonesboro wants it operated. That's the end. That's the one question to answer that we continually ask every month as we're meeting, like, where's the course correct? So all those resources, but allow you to kind of really thrive and brag about the city and keep things moving forward on the big picture.
We'd like to hear that. One of the things when I look at the online chatter, I talk to people around the community, is, I don't want to say fear, but people have questions. They say they hear us talk about tournaments, they hear us talk about visitors, and they're thinking they're not going to get a chance to use it. Where is the balance between, making sure we have good tournaments, things that draw people to town, versus making sure it's open for old guys like me to play basketball at lunch?
Well, typically the local programming is a Monday through Friday from 6 in the morning till 6 at night, or 8 at night, depending upon how we do that. So there's a lot of time that we open it up to the communities. We let people walk. We let people, we set up portable pickleball courts. We do whatever we need to do to keep the lights on and people from the community within the building. We're driving economic impact in tournaments typically on the weekends, and in the summertime. So I think that that'll be one of our tasks, is to fill the gaps. Right, the tournaments are relatively easy. It's filling the gaps and making sure that programming appeals to the community.
Yeah, I think a big thing to point out there too, Craig, is the brilliant way that this facility is structured. We've talked about sports events and aquatics, but really the way you've separated it, where you've got the main gym part that's 8 and 16, eight basketball, 16 volleyball, and then you've got of course the aquatics, but then the other section that's the 4 and 8, 4 basketball, 8 volleyball. That can be a whole different event center, right? That whole different event going on, and the value that brings to primarily, I mean, yes, people travel in, but now locally, I don't have, if I want the bridal show, or I want the children's consignment sale, or I want the gun show and fishing show and boat show, all those things are coming to you now, right? So it's not like, oh, now I don't have access. It's now you have access to so much more right at your doorstep as well. And it comes down to communication by the staff of like, hey, if there is a tournament, we make sure we send that out and let everybody know, hey, Saturday is going to be, the courts are going to be booked from this time, or whatever. So you're not surprised when you show up.
And there's an enormous amount of events that we can do that are not sports related. Town halls, business luncheons, business events, safety stand down. So we'll get pretty creative, and we challenge our staff to be innovative. So yeah, we'll have fun.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, people are very excited. The video animation that flies through the facility and over the facility has just got people's wheels spinning on the possibilities. And as you said, having that those two separate gyms, the 8 basketball and the 4 basketball, having that event center will be such a wonderful thing for this community. Like you said, you'll be able to go there, and you'll have to choose between, like I said, the bridal fair, the kids swim meet, or the basketball tournament.
That's right.
It's really cool. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Greg Weiscarver, John Sparks from Sports Facilities Companies out of Clearwater, Florida. They will be managing the Ridge Athletic Center here in Jonesboro on Ray Street, and we couldn't be happier with the partnership we've already forged and the things that are ahead. We're going to have a great relationship together.
Looking forward to it. Thank you
so much. Absolutely.
Thanks for being on JBR Downloaded, guys. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Thank you for listening and watching JBR Downloaded. I want to thank Rod Saavedra, Bruce Dunn, John Sparks, and Greg Weiscarver for being our guests in this podcast today. A lot of great information. Also want to thank the folks here at Ace1 Technologies. They don't just power this podcast, they power TourJonesboro.com. Make sure you check out TourJonesboro.com and all the events happening in Jonesboro. A lot of great stuff happening out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you check out the descriptions in the box below. And if you're checking us out on Apple or Spotify, don't miss those show notes.